who is it? It's Rupert Spira. His or his teachers were Francis Lucille and Sean Klein. I think Francis Lucille, or I don't think I know that he's also just like Rupert putting out videos on YouTube, and they are quite similar to them when you look at his satsangs or whatever those videos are from. They are similar. They are similar in that the way that they're sort of intellectual, and he seemed to think about the world and consciousness, and also how to answer these questions that come up in satsang in a similar way as Rupert does. And we're going to take a look at the video with Rupert where he speaks about his view of non-duality as opposed to solipsism. And we're also, just as a start, just to set a bit of a context, I have an article here with written by, what is his name? Sean Nevins, who runs the spiritualteachers.org site, where he does reviews of teachers. So, I mean, you don't, yeah. So he's doing the same thing as I'm doing here. And on the site, he spoke about, or he speaks about people critiquing him for, talking about their students or their gurus or their teachers. And it's, of course, a valid point to some degree, that who are you to say anything about anything? I think that's the same critique you can have about anyone saying, what are your credentials? And yeah, I don't want to go into that very deep, but I think anybody has a right to an opinion, and you just weigh their arguments or what they're saying, and you go with your own. I think he uses that wording himself, your own logic and intuition, to either just not listen to it or not read it at all, or just listen to it and make up your own mind. You're not obliged to believe anything. But he is a member of the TAT Foundation. He has written books. He has done interviews. So he seems to have like some formal credentials to this Sean Nevins. Anyway, what he writes is, I read through the article and I found it to be, well, good. I think it's good. He rated Rupert Spira at a 3 out of possible 5 stars, which is also good. It's kind of a solid if it's a movie. It's a movie, 3 out of 5. I mean, that's kind of a solid movie. He seems to think, which I agree with, that Rupert is, he's obviously intelligent. This may be my own words, but he's intelligent. He's good with using words and explaining things. He has this artistic character to him. I think he is an artist even. And he also has a deep understanding of the nature of reality. He's speaking from his own experience. I think that's obvious. The question is, of course, or not of course, but the question that I can't remember his name, Sean Nevins raises as one of the possible downsides with Rupert Spira's teaching, is the fact that, or not the fact that, according to Sean at least, Rupert's insight isn't as deep as it could be. And he uses some examples with about how Rupert speaks about I amness or I am. I can't really tell you exactly what he said because I don't remember. And I haven't thought about those things too much either. He may be right, he may be wrong. I don't think it's that big a deal, to be honest. I think most people are just seekers, who haven't had any experience of anything about that, surrounding that, basically, or at least not as deep as Rupert have. The question is more, what is functional, what works for people, what gets them, closer to the big E, towards enlightenment, awakening, and that should be the question. I think the degree to which a teacher is realized may also play a factor, of course, because people they may not go further than the teacher has gone. So that can mean that they run into problems later on. But I think for most people, he's way more advanced than the general seeker, for sure. And yeah. So another critique is the article is named "Non-duality and the long pause," which I find interesting and a bit funny. Rupert speaks extremely slowly, and he takes these long pauses. The video we're gonna take a look at, I sped it up to 1.5, so 0.5 times faster than the normal speed, which is great that you can do that on YouTube, because looking at Rupert Spira's videos, unless you really, vibe with it, unless you really feel it and you enjoy those long pauses and the way he speaks, you will get, crawling out of your skin because it's so slow, basically. I've been a spiritual, into spirituality, whatever you want to say, since more than 20 years ago. And I remember listening to him back in the days. I never really never really found it to be really, speak to me. But he didn't really speak to me. But I did see that he knew what he was talking about. I did find him. I enjoyed more people like, for example, Adyashanti, or to name, these more famous teachers. That would be maybe Eckhart Tolle. Yeah, some of them reading Ramana, but he's not on YouTube talking. So anyway, I think the article is well written, and I think he makes good points that Rupert is good at what he does, but he may not have like a full on enlightenment experience. I can't say that I am able to judge that from this. I also agree with the fact that it becomes one of the problems, or maybe a problem again. That's the question, what is the goal of the teaching? The goal of the teaching, of course, is to, depending on what perspective you take, but it is to make help people towards enlightenment. And what is the best way of doing that? I think it's an open question. We don't really know. There's not a lot of, we can make arguments around it. But it's basically just opinions. We don't have any way of measuring it at the moment, at least. I think there's some very preliminary studies being done. I think Jeffrey Martin, he's a sort of controversial figure, but he has done some sort of studies to look at what makes people cross over faster. The way of, doing a satsang, that's, we have no idea. My opinion, though, that being said, is that, I think for some people it's just a good thing to be in that kind of environment, and you jive with it, you vibe with it, and it sort of can be helpful at a certain stage, or maybe indefinitely. I don't know. I think for some, though, it isn't very optimal because of the fact that it's really, I would at least call it really heady. So it's he's really just explaining, talking about things, and the way he's pointing it out for people, trying to point out, the obvious truth that he's already seeing, and people who have gone through that type of awakening is experiencing. It's just hard to give someone else that experience. So what the traditions usually tell us, or the mystical traditions, is to meditate and not sit around, talking about it like this. At least that is my understanding, or from, that's what I think, at least. And I think that is the best way of going about it, through practice, through, meditation, through whatever it is that you have to do, through everything at it, like a Zen teacher once said. Uh, but these kinds of satsangs, I think they have a place, especially in the context of having a spiritual practice, which I imagine all of these people who go to Rupert Spira's events do. I mean, they do meditation, they go on retreats. I just get the sense that, yeah, sometimes listening to it, again, it's so hard to tell, is this what they really should be doing? It's so heady. Why not just use this time to meditate and go deeper? Ask the question, who am I? And stop talking about this nonsense. That is my, that is my, maybe a bit biased, or, I don't know if that's the way to go. It's just my feeling when I look at it, or just my thoughts, and which would come out of my trigger, my triggered being from looking at this satsang. Anyway, so let's take a look at the video I was talking about. Big cliffhanger. So Rupert Spira, he has a rather large YouTube channel. Now, it's not as big as Eckhart Tolle or Sadhguru or some of those guys, but he's up to 500,000 now. That's a lot. So, and he does a lot of YouTube videos, which he puts up there, and from his satsangs. And this is a woman who has asked him. I fast forward a bit, so we're going to start not in the middle of it, but like a minute in. And she has asked him, this consciousness, sometimes I have the feeling of it, I'm just looking at it and it's just my dream, sort of. And he's going to explain his view on consciousness, his view of reality, what reality is. And I'm going to give my thoughts on that and his teaching in general. So I think this ties into what Sean was saying to some degree, because this is something that I've seen, at least in this video. I haven't watched very much of it, if you don't count, 20 years ago, because I think, yeah, my opinion is that he seems to be a good guy. I mean, I don't know him by any means, but it seems, sort of normal, actually, in a good way. He seems pretty normal, and he seems like a nice guy. He does a lot of interviews with scientists and other professions, which I find that admirable and really interesting that people do that. So I like him in that. I just don't like listening to him because, again, the cadence of his how he's speaking, and yeah, I don't get anything out of it, basically. So I rather watch MMA or something. you know, that is my. I get something out of that. Anyway, so he is talking here to a woman, and yeah, that was what I was about to say too. One of the other critiques is that he's charging a lot of money. That's also really hard thing to, have. I don't have a strong opinion on that either. I think if you're charging like extreme sums of money, sure. The thing is, though, when you become so famous as Rupert is, I mean, he's really famous. All of the people who are this famous, basically, I think, at least most of them, I don't know actually, but I think so. They seem to charge a lot. The prices go up as soon as people become famous, for many reasons. But yeah, it's that is the way of the of humanity, basically. If it's a singer or you know whoever it is, when they become famous, they can charge more money for their services. Basically, they are worth more, and that is the thing. I think Adyashanti tried to keep his prices for his retreats down, and but I think it's hard because you get bigger, you get more staff, everything becomes bigger, and you start to charge more, and you can't charge. I don't. I'm not trying to make any excuses. I'm just saying. I don't think it's like that big a deal that it charges money, or quite a lot, because it's in line with how famous he is, basically. So you could always make the argument that, yeah, but he's a spiritual teacher, he shouldn't be worried about money. like Ramana and Jesus and those really great teachers were. This is another time though, and yeah, I think it's, as far as I've seen, sort of okay. Yeah, that's my very interesting opinion about that. Okay, let's listen.
When you have a dream at night, that the world that you dream takes place only in your private finite mind. Nobody else shares your dream. The dream world is unique to your mind. But the world that we experience in the waking state is not just the projection of an individual finite mind.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So this is his distinction. He often uses the analogy or metaphor with a dream, which I think is a great analogy, actually. Not on this channel, but I have a Swedish channel where I speak about spirituality and just the idea of, because we dream at night, even if you don't remember, everyone can, not even being interested in spirituality, they know what a dream is, and they know that it's, if you take a purely materialistic viewpoint, you still believe in dreaming. Dreams are real, and they are projection of your own mind or your brain, or however you want to see it. And in that dream, everything seems real, right? So everything's real. You meet people, you see a cloud in the sky, there are houses, whatever it is, and it both feels real, and you can speak to people. You can do anything you can do in this normal waking state, basically. And what many of the spiritual traditions say that this is like a dream, and you can awake inside of this dream, just like you can become lucid in a dream at night. And it's also speaking like of non-duality or oneness, at least. In a dream, everything could be said to be one, right? Because it is your own mind that is construing, or it's instigating, starting, constructing this dream. So it's your own mind. Everything is your own mind, even though it looks like there's other people there and you're speaking to them. They seem like normal people, but it's just your own mind. Your mind plays that trick on you, or however you want to think about it. That makes, and you can wake up from that. You can realize that it's a dream. And then it changes a lot. It becomes more lucid. You become freer. You don't get as anxious about the things that happen in dream. That's why it's such a great analogy to this waking state that you are in now, listening to this. The fact that, or not the fact that, but seeing this as a dream, or somewhat as a dream, is not an ultimate teaching. It's just a pointer. But, at least it could be possible that this is also a dream. How do you know? How do you know that this is not happening inside your own mind? How would you know? You believe it at night. Every night you go to sleep, you believe in those dreams, unless you're always a lucid dreamer. And the traditions say that you believe it now too. And you can awake in this dream too. You can become lucid or enlightened in this waking state. And the same things happen. Basically, you get less anxious about things that happen in a dream. You get more happy, and you are awake. You realize that the thoughts and emotions and feelings and perceptions and whatever is just sort of happening. It's not really you. Anyway, so he uses that concept of the dream for oneness, and to have this see how it can relate to this normal waking state. But he's also in this context using it as a way of explaining the difference between solipsism and the way he views reality. He says that in a dream at night, it is just your mind. So the one you're talking of, the person you're speaking to in your dream, is just your own mind. You're speaking to your own mind, like solipsism would say, that everything is just in your own mind. But he means that in this waking state, it is not like that. He says that in the waking state, there are different minds going around here. And there's this super mind, or I don't know what it calls it, like a unity consciousness or whatever, the big consciousness, is dreaming the whole of reality with these minds that are experiencing the world through these organisms with our senses. So that's the difference between, as he said, a dream at night and the waking state. Now, I would suggest that there are some people, at least, that make the point of saying that in the dream state at night, it is not just your own mind, because some people, like the people from the Monroe Institute, if you know what it is, they do these out-of-body experiences, and there are spiritual teachers like Tom Campbell, and there are people from Sweden, even where I'm from, who speaks about this. I don't know if it's true. I think Stephen LaBerge, who wrote books about lucid dreaming and did some research on it, he tried to prove that people could have shared dream experiences, and he had pretty interesting ways of testing that out. I'm not going to go into it now, and he didn't make it work as far as I know. But Tom Campbell and other people I know about, they say that they've done it, hundreds of times, have had shared dream experiences. So then you would have a dream. Rupert may still his point isn't really about saying that you can't have shared dream experiences, but just as a side note, I think that's interesting that it seems that we can have, if it's true what Tom Campbell and other teachers are saying, seems that we can have shared dream experiences. We can also have dream experiences that are solely our own minds, just as Rupert is saying here. Anyway, let's continue.
Just as the world you dream of at night appears in your single individual mind, this world that we experience in the waking state appears in a single awareness, a single universal mind, but not a single finite mind. So each of our minds has an element that is private, namely our thoughts and our memories and our feelings. For instance, there are numerous finite minds here now, and we're all having different thoughts. And those thoughts are private. None of us know what each other are thinking or feeling. So that aspect of our minds is private. However, we're all experiencing the same world, albeit from slightly different points of view. So our view of that world is unique to us. But the world, or let's say the reality that we are perceiving, lies outside each of our finite minds, but inside the universal mind or consciousness. So there is more to the world than either the contents of a single finite mind or even the sum total of all finite minds. In other words, if you took away all finite minds from the universe, the world would cease reality would cease appearing as a world, because the mind through which it appears would no longer be there. But the reality of the world, which exists independently of the mind that perceives it, would remain.
So this is also, I'm not sure if he's speaking from his own experience here, or what makes him say this. What is it that makes him say these things, or what? How come his metaphysical view of reality? How come it is like it is? What she's saying here, I just wonder about it, and how is it possible to know this? How would he know this? To me, I think I'll continue and get back to that.
In other words, the world is not just the contents of a single finite mind or even the sum total of all finite minds. There is an aspect of the world, of the universe, that exists outside and independent of each of our finite minds. That is the reality of the world. What is that reality? I would suggest infinite consciousness. So what we know as the world, what we perceive as the world, is a result of an interaction between its reality, infinite consciousness, and the mind through which it is perceived. So the world as we know it derives its reality from infinite consciousness, but it borrows its appearance from the finite mind. So there's an aspect of the world that is derived from the finite mind, that is its appearance. There's an aspect of the world from which it derives its reality, and that is infinite consciousness. So that, to answer your question, there's more to the world than just our finite mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I sometimes I interact in the world and I explain something, then I think better be silent because it doesn't make any sense. This is just in my reality happening, and in absolute awareness, there's only silence. So why do I speak? Why do I need to explain something? Because it's just like in a mirror world happening only for me, and then I might as well be quiet because silence is in the end the only answer. I don't know whether that makes sense.
No, but there's more to the world than just your private mind. What about all the other minds? Do you honestly believe that each of us is just a figment in your own imagination? That's solipsism.
Okay.
That's not non-duality. It's solipsism.
So this is, I find interesting. So maybe I can harken back to the earlier point that I didn't quite elaborate on. He's saying that the view that it's just inside your mind basically is solipsism. That's what it means basically. And that's not non-duality. That is what he's saying. So non-duality is something else then apparently. Non-duality, it seems like he says that non-duality is this Rupert's metaphysical view of the world. How it's constituted. That we have this big mind or unity consciousness that's creating reality and then experiencing itself through these finite minds, these organisms, whatever you want to call it. To me, that's just not what non-duality is. I mean, how is that non-duality? I mean, again, I don't think you could say what non-duality is or isn't. Here's the thing that I think maybe Sean is pointing to. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't watch what is referring to, and I just skimmed through the article, so I'm not sure. But to me, the understanding that non-duality is, non-duality means that there's this unity consciousness, and that there's this finite people experience or finite minds experiencing unity consciousness or being unity consciousness, experiencing itself. Those are just ideas, those are just words. Those are just, I mean, yeah. So what I would say is more true than that. I mean, we can, of course, there's different levels of understanding things, of course, and there's different ways of saying things, and it doesn't necessarily always have to check out. It is paradoxical in many ways. So maybe he's just, what is the word I'm looking for? Trying to speak in a language that he thinks like being pedagogical in a way, maybe not speaking the ultimate truth. Whatever that would be, maybe silence or whatnot, but that's maybe not. Yeah, whatever. My point is that saying that this is non-duality is just, yeah. I wouldn't frame it like that at all. To me, a more ultimate teaching is the one found in Nagarjuna's neti neti, not this. We cannot say what the ultimate reality is, and it's the Heart Sutra in Buddhism. They end it with these famous words, gatte gatte paragatte parasangatte bodhisvaha. Beyond, even more beyond awakening, enlightenment, or whatever. Oh, how wonderful. Something is just, that is the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is beyond. It's not finite consciousness experience, it's, or unity consciousness experiences, whatever that means. Even they are very explicit in, the sutras, even oneness. You go beyond even oneness. You go even beyond non-duality. Even non-duality sort of implodes upon itself. The neti is not just for saying that you cannot really say anything about the the ultimate nature of reality, it's also that you cannot say even that. So it sort of defeats its own purpose in a way. It becomes a contradiction in terms, maybe. Still, that being said, I would still not say that, non-duality is, what I said before, non-duality isn't Rupert Spira's metaphysical understanding of the world. It's just a sort of a map or his ideas about how it may be. But even the actual experience, I would say, is way beyond that. The actual experience of, at least my own experience, my own understanding of ultimate reality is way, I don't know if I want to use like in it's not that, shall we say. It's not that it's one consciousness experiencing itself through. But of course, if we want to say something about it, how it works, maybe it has a place to do that. Maybe it has a pedagogical purpose, and it's helpful for her. I wouldn't call it, though, that is non-duality as opposed to solipsism. I much more like the apophatic theology in Christian mysticism, that via negativa, through negations, you don't say what, when you start to touch on the more ultimate things, and how would we know if there's a big consciousness that we experience, that experiences itself through finite minds, or if it is more like solipsism, if it is more like the self is just experiencing, there's just the self, there's nothing else, or whatever you want, whatever your idea is, that's just oneness, or however you want to frame it. First of all, those are just ideas or just concepts. Second of all, how would you know, is it your own experience that is the case? I still wouldn't call it a non-duality, because it's not what ancient traditions said about non-duality. Okay, let's continue.
Even though I have the experience of consciousness, of awareness, of emptiness.
I'm not sure how that follows.
Yeah, no, because of solipsism, of just that only my world exists.
Solipsism believes that the only thing in the entire, that all reality consists of, is your mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you really believe that, you wouldn't be having this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You really believe that I and everyone here, and all your friends, your family, your world, do you really believe that their only existence is in your individual mind? No, you don't believe.
Well, I mean, it's like he's convincing her to say that. I mean, you wouldn't have this conversation. Why wouldn't you? You could easily imagine having this exact conversation in your dream, which I've had many times. I've many times in dreams had a conversation. I dream often at night. At night, I dream that I walk around telling people that this is just a dream. Sometimes I know that it's a dream. Sometimes I'm not really aware of it. I just wake up and realize that I was walking around in the dream telling people it's a dream. But if that is, why wouldn't you do that? If you really believed it, If you really believed it, maybe you wouldn't. But she obviously isn't convinced of it being the way Rupert speaks about it either. This is a tough subject to understand, and that's what I also like with, for example, Ramana's teachings. To my mind, and this is the critique I have of these satsangs too, they just so heady. You don't get anywhere. You're just talking about nothing. Again, why not just spend those minutes and go deep and as I was about to say, Ramana, as far as from reading his books at least, or the books written, he would say, who is it that is wondering about this? Wondering about, is this solipsism, or are there many consciousnesses, experiencing the big consciousness? Who is asking that question? Try to find that person, or try to find that. And the question will dissolve itself. You will know the answer to that when you know yourself. That is always the most, or always, that's again, what is the function of it? What is the best way forward? I'm not sure. I guess it's an individual thing, and maybe Rupert has a good intuition about how to do it, and or he's, yeah, I was going to say he's just milking it and leading people astray so he can have more satsangs. I don't think so. But also, I'm not sure that this is the way to go. I think he's trying to point her back to something, but it seems like he's just pointing her to another idea, instead of pointing her to the reality, towards direct awakening. That's just my intuition. I may be wrong, though.
Yeah, I thought that's why I thought perhaps they're part of my dream, and so
they're not part of your individual dream. They're part of the dream of the universal mind, infinite consciousness. Yet the world is, we could say, it was the dream or the imagination of the universal mind, but not just the dream of an individual mind. The dream you have is the dream of an individual mind, but the dream, the world we experience in the waking state is the dream of the universal mind. Infinite consciousness is a big difference, and each of us are viewpoints in that universal mind or consciousness.
To me, I would say, no, that's not my experience. Everything is just one consciousness all the time. It's the same. It's the same. Yeah, it's just the same. Everything is the same. So yeah, pointing it to another idea of how the world is. If it wasn't, how could there be two, right? I mean, if it's non-duality, why wouldn't every experience be the same? In a fundamental sense, everything is one thing. Everything is this, and as far as, or am I I don't know if I'm mistaken here, but isn't Rupert sort of saying that in the dream at night it's something different, and when you're awake, I mean, of course there's different states. Yeah, maybe I'm misinterpreting him here somewhat. I'm not sure. Again, these questions are I don't know why I'm watching this video.
So the infinite consciousness is, as it were, dreaming the world, or imagining the world, the universe within itself, but it views that world from the perspective of our mind. So we are the eyes of infinite consciousness, the eyes and of infinite consciousness, through which it perceives itself and hears itself and touches itself and tastes itself and smells itself as the world. What it's really experiencing is itself. It experiences itself as the world because it perceives itself through our faculties of seeing, hearing, touching. It's whenever it experiences itself in the form of sight, sounds, taste, textures, and smells. But what it is experiencing is itself.
Isn't that the exact same thing that happens in a dream then?
Okay. Yeah.
She didn't get it at all, I think. She doesn't, I mean, you can't blame, of course, Rupert that it is hard to get these points across. It is hard to get I just, again, yeah, I think I said it like 100 times. I don't see really the point of pointing out, no, but it's really many many minds experiences the one consciousness, and a dream is just one consciousness. Or, I mean, what does it matter? The only thing it matters is in the sense that you get crazy, like Schopenhauer said, I think, that solipsism leads to craziness or something like that. And she apparently is sitting around thinking, but if there's only me, who am I talking to? Should I just be quiet? I don't know. Do whatever you want, you could not. It doesn't really matter. it matters if, of course, if you get depressed, if people get depressed through believing that, but it's believing that isn't really that much different from believing that it's the way Rupert Spira believes it is. what difference does it make in actuality? I don't know. Yeah.
Understand. Thank you, Rupert.
Nice to see you, Gabriella.
Thank you. Likewise.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't want to put too much into it. These are really hard, tough subjects to to elaborate on and speak about in succinct ways. I think again that Rupert seems to be a good guy on the good side. There's no. I think Sean mentioned that he was called like the gentleman guru or something, and he seems really, again, normal in a good sense, the best sense of the word. He's like a good guy. He really works. He really tries to convey things, and I think he's doing a good job. That is my take on it. However, it does get a bit heady, and I wonder if his approach really is the best for some people there. I don't know. Maybe it's these are really, again, hard questions. I'm coming back to it. How do we know which is the best approach? How do we know? Is it like people are drawn to the things that they are best helped by? Maybe to some degree, I think so. And who knows about these things? I just see that in some cases, like here, maybe he could, through being different, he would be able to meet her where she is at more and give her a sort of deeper taste of actual reality than he did here. I think that's possible. Another teacher would have been able maybe to better cater to her needs in that moment. Not to say that I would, or that I think that it's really hard. It's really hard to help people see or point these things out. It is a tough thing to do, I think. Okay, so that was it. That was my review on Rupert Spira. Again, I think I would also give him maybe 4 out of 5 stars. I think he's, maybe not. I don't know. I have to think about that. It depends. And I can't really say it depends. Maybe it is a 3 out of 5. Yeah, but there's so many that are terrible. So maybe he will get a 4. I wonder who he puts at a 5 and 4 star. Let's see who puts in a 4th star. Eddie Teresa, Paul Hederman. I think Art Ticknor. Yeah, I've heard about him. Not know very much. Maybe he puts all in his TAT Foundation. Gary Weber, I know about. He's great, I think. I've had some contact with him. Frank and Meryl Wolf, I know about him. Bernadette Roberts, I just read her books. She's a great teacher. So, Adyashanti, he also puts her in the 4 category. I agree with that too. So, and he's also really good at, he's such a, he's really great at, I listened to so many of his satsangs back in the days, not anymore. I can't listen to him either, but I think he's a great teacher, and I think he works for so many people, and his way of meeting up people and not speaking ultra slow either. I'm just going to take a look at the 5 stars here. To Paul Resendes, don't know about him. Bob Ferguson, I know about, but I don't know too much about him. I've known Bob Ferguson for nearly 20 years. Yeah, this is what I wonder about with this Sean guy. Is he putting his TAT Foundation and people he knows in? But of course, it's hard too, though, when you are in the business sort of. But it's you do run the risk of being a bit biased when it's your own buddies. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj, of course. I mean that, but I think the people that we don't really have any. Yeah, we do have videos of him actually. We do. So maybe he's should be there. But like putting Ramana Maharshi or someone, it's becomes more difficult when you don't. Yeah, it's so different. If Ramana would be here today and we would have like hundreds of videos, YouTube videos of him, we would look at this probably, I think, look at him in a less favorable way than we do now, because it's the scrutiny today's teachers get were never anything like that before. And also time, makes people, yeah, because I mean, even Romana had this outburst, as far as I know, anyway. And people seem to believe that many of these old gurus were borderline perfect, which I don't think they were, because we have none of them today either. And yeah, maybe Ramana and Nisargadatta were, one of its kind, or Raman at least. And we never see them again. But yeah, I don't think that. I think who knows? I don't know. Richard Rose, yeah, I've heard about him too, but I don't know too much about him. Okay, yeah, and here he has Ramana Maharshi, so of course he will be a five star. Let's see on the page 2 here. Douglas Harding, Jesus, yeah, yeah. I haven't read too much about him, or his he has this pointing out instructions. I think he's good. I would not put him in the 5-star category though. So, but I mean, this isn't, objectively this is the way it is. This is Sean's view of things, and it will influence his own values, biases, and all those things that goes into putting a number on valuing someone like this. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, and talk to you again in a later video. Bye.